Hello everybody and welcome back to Monday.io. If it's your first time here, double welcome to you. Also, I love you. Today we're going to be taking a look at As We Know It, which I guess is a visual novel sort of thing. Wow, I have this really loud. I need to turn that down a little bit. Visual novel sort of thing. I'm going to read the description for this one. Like I said I was going to do for all the games we cover here. And I haven't done since the first time I did it. When the world gets too hot, humanity finds sanctuary underground. After a long waiting list, you finally score a spot in the local underground city of Camden, run by Mayor Rick Davidson. You and your mother move in and begin to acclimate to this wonderful new life. As time passes, however, things start to go wrong. Unravel what's going on and face some hard choices that will impact your relationships and fate. Get a job, find romance, and meet the other residents of Camden, your new home. So, let's look at the features. So there's customize your name and appearance, 4 career options with independent storylines, 4 potential love interests that you can befriend or romance, 3 potential friends and several people to interact with, branching paths from day 1, making each playthrough unique. Every path promises different sides of the story, encouraging replay. Spend time with any and everyone, no matter who you romance or which job you pick. Over 135,000 words and 30 endings. I'm looking at some of the romance options, and yeah, there's already like a really cute tomboy girl, and I'm super down for that. All right, let's start the dang game. Hey, cool content warning. I appreciate that. All right, can we have pink hair? No, that's a shame. You can just go with blonde then. Oh, should we... Do I really want to, like, change the name? Oh, but it always has to be Phillips. Okay, well... Let's just... We're not going to do goofy things with the Monday.io ones, I think. We'll be serious with these. It was a tiny place, much smaller than our house had been. But we wouldn't die here if the power went out during a dust storm. Oh, hey Mom. Luka, can you help me with this? Sure, just let me change out of these rags first. Oh, what a cute outfit. I changed quickly and then I rushed over to open the tub with our very limited possessions inside. We had to leave a lot behind to come here. They had informed us of the limited space. My mother sighed and started to lift things carefully out of the box and place them on the various shelves that were provided. I miss all of our things already. Good riddance. We had too much junk anyway. Mom smiled weakly at me and nodded her head. I suppose you're right. Mom stood up and started organizing everything into an appropriate spot. I went to our new beds and began to lay out the provided linens. The fabric was very soft and free of sand. I almost felt bad touching it. We had a bathroom, kitchen area, and separate beds. There was also a hinged table that could be pulled up from the wall and small chairs that could be tucked away. Oh, so it's like we're living in like a mobile home or like an RV. On the wall by the door was a metallic intercom system with a tiny speaker. The floor was hard and made of vinyl that roughly resembled wood. I had stared at the shower for a while before realizing what it was. I showed Mom and we both watched the water fall from the ceiling as we twisted the knobs. It was incredible. Oh, so you're not really used to that, huh? There were even fake windows by the bed, featuring paintings of incredible landscapes with green trees and water, something I had only ever seen in books. It was small, and it wouldn't provide a lot of privacy, but it was safe. It was home. The crackle of the intercom made me jump. I looked at Mom, and then we both looked at the small speaker. The voice was understandable despite the static. In 1 hour, I need all new citizens to come to the community center for orientation. I hope you all found your accommodations comfortable and efficient. Oh, I already don't like this. If anyone has any questions or concerns, please remember that is that italicized or is that just how W's look? That is just how W's look, okay. That we are always here for you. There was a pop and the noise stopped. I started to look over the map that had been in the welcome basket on the table. The layout was simple, but I'd probably still get lost. Oh, same though. I was used to wide open spaces, and here there were tunnels and paths all over the place. Fuck maps. I stepped outside after telling Mom I would be back in a bit. She had only given me a distracted nod. The walls were buzzing with activity, people in and out of uniform wandering around. Doors hung open while people laughed, cried, shouted, and even sang. I noticed the sign on the wall pointing towards the community center, so I followed it. I turned a corner and ran into something solid. A person. Oh. What? I stumbled a step back and hands clasped on my shoulders. Are you alright? The man released his grip after a moment and studied me briefly, his words surprisingly gentle as his grip had been. Yeah, sorry about that. I should watch where I'm going. It's quite alright, but you should try to be more alert. He started to walk away, so I spoke up to stop him. Is this the right way to the community center? You're heading to the newcomer orientation? I was just trying to see if I could find it, and then I'm going back to get my mother. That's a good plan. You're more likely to remember the location if... Oh. He held his hand out to me. Forgive me, I'm Dr. Mika Everett. You might see me around the clinic. I'm Luka. Doctor? Yes, that's me. I should have introduced myself earlier. Unfortunately, I'm a bit distracted at the moment. He smiled slightly, so I nodded and tried not to show how thrown off I was by his polite tone. I suppose I'll need to decide on some kind of job. They're supposed to tell us more at the orientation. Don't worry. They plan to have open houses for each career so everyone can learn more about them. You wouldn't happen to have any medical knowledge, would you? We can always use more people in the clinic. I guess I have some. I've had to treat a few illnesses and injuries, nothing extreme though. Kinda hard to get to doctors for minor stuff on the surface. That seems like accurate. Yeah. We were both quiet for a moment. I started to feel awkward. I suppose I should let you get back to what you were doing. Sorry for running into you. It was lovely meeting you, Luka. I'm sure I'll see you around. He smiled and continued on his way. He had been a bit distant, but seemed friendly if you got past the formal way he spoke. I went back to following the signs until I realized that they did indeed lead directly to where I needed to go. Can I hit space while I do this so I can have a drink? I guess I shouldn't drink while I'm trying to read, though. I went back to get Mom, and then we headed to the community center together. A large Welcome to Camden banner had been hung above the doors to the community center. The room was noisy and crowded. There were chairs facing a small stage and tables lined with coffee and water. Bulletin boards were on the walls with various flyers and notices tacked onto them haphazardly. The stage held a podium, and in front there were two clean but vintage speakers. This is totally gonna turn out to be some like Fallout Vault shit, right? Like there's no way that this is like good. Oh, you are so not a good guy. The man, I assumed to be the mayor, was talking to some security officers on the stage. He stood tall and easy with a commanding presence. He looked important. I sat down in an empty seat with Mom and looked around. People were reacting to this new situation in a variety of ways. A woman near the back of the room was sobbing, and the man next to me was just staring blankly off into space. Mostly, there was an air of relief. We had been accepted, chosen. We were safe now. A hush fell over the crowd as the man stood to address us. He was handed a small microphone, and we heard the familiar crackle of speakers. It seems as if everyone has made it here safely. I'm glad. He smiled and looked around the room. You may know who I am, but allow me to introduce myself anyway. I am Rick Davidson, the mayor of Camden. I know a lot of you are scared, traumatized by your life on the surface. Know that now you are safe. Together we can build upon this community to create something magnificent. A home. He clasped his hands together and then held them up for everyone to see. There was some hesitant applause. First thing you all need to know is that Camden welcomes you. He flung his arms out wide to motion towards the crowd, and there was more applause, stronger now. In Camden, we know that cooperation is the key to a comfortable life. This is why I must ask all of you to prepare for the Camden Career Festival on Saturday. It's a yearly celebration to welcome you and to help all of you find your place within our modest little society. As for choosing your career, there are a wide range of options. Each department will be hosting an open house in the evenings starting tomorrow. You are all encouraged to attend as many as you like until you find a good fit. We will need everyone who is capable to contribute, and in turn I am confident that we will continue to thrive in Camden together. The applause was much louder and more enthusiastic now, and once it died down, he continued to speak. If work or anything else is stressing you out, I encourage you to take advantage of the many relaxing pastimes available here in Camden. Most are free. Though many of your basic needs will be met, your career will earn you enough beads to purchase a wide variety of luxury items. Fabric, entertainment, liquor, and... Oh? Have any of you ever tasted an apple? People began to move through the room and hand out small red things. I looked down at it and shared a look with my mother. We had heard of apples. I'd even seen a picture of one once. I bit into the firm flesh and tasted sweet juice. I looked down at the glorious apple in my hand and heard my mother squeal in delight beside me. Incredible! I smiled at her and continued to eat while the mayor waited for everyone to settle back down. He then continued to speak, but I was stuck in daydreams. Apples, nice fabric, it was all so incredible. I glanced over at my mother. She was gazing at the mayor, completely enraptured. She clutched the apple tightly, only one bite missing. Yeah, this is already seeming like this Rick guy is gonna have like a cult-like devotion. Mom? She only looked at me and smiled, nodding her head. Then she returned her attention to him. I glanced around the room and saw a lot of similar looks. If they weren't being directed towards the mayor, then to the red apples in their hands. Suddenly, everyone stood up and began to cheer. I joined in, trying to hide my confusion. He must have said something, but I had missed it. Mom, why are we clapping? He's amazing, he really is. I think he's inspired optimism in everyone, it's just wonderful. I guess. What are we going to do for jobs? Mom stopped clapping for a moment. I'm not sure. We'll need to attend those open house things. I wonder what kind of jobs they have. If there is a job for an apple taste tester, sign me up. I held up the apple core for her to see. She seemed to remember her own apple and took another bite. I'm going to go try to say hi to our new mayor. You should walk around and mingle, get to know our new neighbors. I didn't reply, but she had already started to walk away. I sighed and glanced around the room. I kept trying to tell myself that this was my life now, but I wasn't sure if it was sinking in. It was weird to not be searching for food or watching out for strange shifts in the wind. I glanced around the room. There were some people who clearly weren't new here. They stood near a large bulletin board. So many people. The noise echoed really badly in here. I closed my eyes and rubbed the bridge of my nose. Mom was right, but did I really want to try talking to any of these people when I still felt so on edge? See, this is the me thing to do. Actually, let's do this. I'm gonna play it as straight as I can, react how I would. This seemed like a good time to leave. There wouldn't be a flood of people, and I could just look at the info packet thing later. I started to back up and began heading slowly to the door. Everyone was stopping to greet each other, but if I avoided eye contact, I might be able to escape. No one else looked as spooked as I felt. It made me feel crazy. I slipped through the door and tasted freedom for a brief moment. Then I noticed that I was not alone. A man was leaning against the wall, playing with a rubber band. Ah, I see I wasn't the only one who wanted out of there. He looked up at me and snapped the rubber band. I came out here to smoke. Then I remembered that I quit. He held up the rubber band and snapped it again. Gotta keep my hands busy. Oh, that's good. That you quit, I mean. This was more social interaction than I had wanted when I had stuck out. He didn't seem too bad, though. I'm Jude, by the way. Hey, it's nice to meet you. Don't do that. Did that sound awkward? He was looking at me with an intense gaze. And you are... I swallowed and nodded. Right. I'm Luka. I'm one of the newcomers, I guess. I figured, since... He pointed towards the community center. You aren't... No. I opened my mouth, but I didn't know what to say. He watched me for a moment and then snapped his rubber band again. Yeah, so I've got to get out of here. If anyone asks, you didn't see me. He didn't wait for any kind of reply, he just walked away. I blinked, not sure what to think. I shrugged and continued on to our block. I could wait for Mom in the privacy of our new home, before anyone else popped up close enough to talk to me. A lot of people were looking at me with open curiosity. Something about me must be screaming, surface. Maybe sand was falling out of my hair or something. I paced around the tiny room that was now my home, and waited for Mom to show up. As soon as I had started to worry, the heavy door opened and she appeared. Were you waiting for me? I want to go to bed and I didn't want to lock you out. I have a key. No, you don't. I pointed towards her key that she'd forgotten on the table by a box of fresh clothing. Ah, well, luckily for me, I have such a wonderful daughter. Yeah. So, how is the mayor? You seem smitten. She waved me off and dug through her clothing to find something to sleep in. He's a nice guy, that's all. Are you curious about him? His family made this whole place, funded it and everything. He asks for nothing in return, just wants everyone to live a better life. Bullshit. I don't believe that for a fucking second. This is some rich asshole. I don't trust like that. Like I said, smitten. Mom laughed and retreated to the bathroom to prepare for bed. I was already good to go, so I curled up in what was now my new bed and tried to be grateful for the nice blankets. The small space was unnerving, but I slept facing out to make it easier on myself. I'd get used to it. I could hear her humming, and it made me smile. I knew I could count on Mom to get a crush on a guy our first day here. Her romantic escapades had gotten us into a bit of trouble before, but hopefully it wasn't something we would need to deal with here. Lights inside of our quarters blinked off, and I tried to get comfortable. Mom switched on her white noisemaker, and I closed my eyes. I had been shocked that she had grabbed such a thing, but now it was drowning out all the weird sounds that were echoing through the place. Luckily, this place had electricity, and the mayor seemed generous with it. Tomorrow, I would need to find something to do until I could go to a career open house. It felt strange to not be sealing the cracks and watching out for a storm. But the door was sturdy and there were no windows. I was so exhausted I couldn't have stayed awake all night, even if I wanted to. Oh, so stress is like actually a mechanic. Is standing somebody's name, or is that like standing as in within Camden? Also, I like how it's giving me names of characters that I have not even met yet. I met Mika and I met Jude. I've only met dudes so far. That sucks. When the intercom finished its annoying good morning message, I rolled over in bed and saw that Mom was already up and dressed. We need to see if we can buy a coffee maker somewhere that still works. Coffee was one of those luxury items, but I was pleased to learn it wasn't too expensive. Why don't you get ready real quick and come with me to the community center? They serve coffee there every morning. For free? No, but it's cheaper than buying the stuff to make it yourself. I groaned and squeezed my eyes closed. Sleep more or get coffee. Oh, this is like the choice that I make every single day. This has more potential to be interesting, but also I want to avoid the mayor as much as possible. I waved my mother off and mumbled that I planned to go back to sleep. Suit yourself, at least get up in time for the career open houses. I'll assume that means yes, mother. I love you. I closed my eyes and heard the click of the door closing before I fell back to sleep. I woke up a few hours later. The room was quiet, but I could hear a commotion outside. I sat up and glanced around the room, but Mom had not returned. I couldn't imagine what she was still doing at the community center. It was already early afternoon. I took a breath and reminded myself not to worry. We were safe in here. I got up and grabbed my keys. It couldn't hurt to go check on her. As I got ready, I continued to hear noises outside the room. My heart began to race and I quickened my movements. I grabbed the handle and opened the door, trying to steel myself for what I would find outside. A couple stood watch as 2 security officers worked on one of the doors. Hey, what are they doing? Oh, I locked us out. They're opening the door for us. I nodded and watched for a moment. They were using some kind of device to slide in between the door and frame. It beeped and the door popped open. The couple began to cheer and thank the security officers, so I backed up and left. It was a relief that all the noise had such an inane cause. The hallways towards the community center were lively. They were narrow, but people had their doors propped open and everyone was chatting and sharing gossip. Stories of the past were shared along with hopes for the future. No one worried about power failures or dust storms. No one eyed each other with heavy suspicion. Everyone here had gone soft. I wanted to be soft. I shook the uncomfortable thoughts away. The din escalated until I reached the community center, which seemed very busy. I walked in and saw a lot of people wandering around and socializing. There were a lot of newcomers who I'd sort of recognized from the orientation. They stood near the bulletin board looking over all of the career and volunteer positions. The air felt stale and dry. People who seemed less haggard eyed us newcomers with open curiosity and even a bit of apprehension. I took a deep shuddering breath and shook it off. I could deal with the odd looks later. Right now I needed to find Mom. I needed to make sure she hadn't gotten herself into some kind of trouble. I walked around for maybe an hour, nodding and trying not to bump into anyone before finding her. Of all the people in Camden, she sat next to the freaking mayor. They were in a rather large group of people, all engaged in a discussion. Mom? Oh, Luka! Everybody, this is my daughter. Why, you got blue hair, Mr. Mayor. Everyone turned to look at me and I tried to smile, not showing how awkward I felt with all eyes on me. I woke up and came to find you. What's up? Rick is here to address everyone's questions. We're all so new to this kind of life. I ignored her, calling the mayor Rick. She was smitten all right. Her eyes practically beamed up at me. Please, have a seat and join us. I shook my head. I had no desire for more of his speeches right now. Mom was safe, and I was hungry. No, thanks. I'm going to get something to eat, and then probably try to decide which open house to attend. Okay, honey, I'll be along shortly. I nodded and started to leave. I glanced over the board, and something caught my eye. There were postings that appeared more recent. Some of the career leaders were advertising their open houses. Oh, you're cute. A pretty girl with soft brown eyes walked and stood beside me. I don't believe we've met. I'm Gloria. Have you chosen a career yet? I blinked. She was talking to me. I opened my mouth, but wasn't sure what to say. She left me a little breathless. We could always use some great people in the community affairs department. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure what I'm well suited for yet. I probably wouldn't be very good at it. I'll keep it in mind, but I don't want to rush into a decision. Of course, there is still plenty of time. What's it like to work in community affairs? Lots of fun. It can be hectic, of course. It's hard to keep everyone happy. Well, actually, that's impossible. Trying to please as many people as possible with the big events can get exhausting. That doesn't sound like my cup of tea, if I'm being fully honest. She shrugged and laughed her words away. But I enjoy it. She glanced away and chewed on her lip. She looked like she wanted to say something. Is everything all right? She nodded and took a deep breath. I just have a lot of work to do. I should probably get started on some of it. I won't keep you. I'm sure you'll have help soon. We can only hope. It was nice meeting you. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of each other. This place isn't really that large. She didn't even ask me for my name. Did we give her our name? I don't think we did. I smiled and gave her a little wave as she walked away. I was starting to get hungry and coffee alone wasn't going to be enough. There was some food waiting for me at home that was fresh and sand-free. I ducked into the hallway and made my way through the people going about their day. Getting home wasn't too hard. I just followed the signs that led towards my block. Everything was actually laid out really well. It was different than the surface, where everything was just sort of shoved together from ruins. When I got back home, I sighed with relief. It wasn't exactly quiet, but there weren't people all pressed up against each other here. I distracted myself with food, portioning everything out carefully. The fresh stuff would spoil if I wasn't careful. I glanced through the welcome package while I ate. Hours passed before Mom finally returned. Again, she was in high spirits. I smiled and tried not to show that I was concerned. Mayor seemed like a nice enough guy. He wasn't in a relationship or anything. I should simply wish her the best. It was probably one-sided anyway. He was the freaking mayor after all. Oh, Luka, Rick is so wonderful, isn't he? He insisted he escort me all the way here. Oh, really? Is it dangerous for us to be alone in the halls? I don't think it was like that. He just wanted to talk to me more. She shimmied her shoulders with pride and began to swan around the room towards the food. That's nice. So, have you thought about the career open houses yet? Which one are you going to? Mom paused, and I saw her deflate a bit. I'm not all that good at anything. We always just did what we needed to in order to survive. It seems strange to have a job. Yeah, but this is like a proper society, right? Yeah, it's wonderful, isn't it? I smiled and nodded, despite the anxiety. I didn't see a reason to worry. The lights hadn't flickered too much. I hadn't heard the roar of a sandstorm, and no one had tried to rob or kill us in our sleep. Things were different now. Better. I just needed to adjust. It's weird that our mother is the one that is not taking more time to adjust, considering she's older, probably lived through the post-apocalypse a lot longer than we did. And, I don't know, older folks generally are less welcome to change, especially like big change. So where are you headed tonight? Any of the jobs interest you? I shrugged. Just going to check out the open houses and figure it out from there. She nodded, and I apprehensively left to attend the first open house. I kind of already know... I mean, I kind of have a good idea of what I might be able to do, and I'm gonna go for, like, the tomboy girl that we have not met yet. I walked into a large open room with several tables all lined up. A uniform had been set up, and there were lots of little packets with information. A large man stood by a bulletin board and was talking to everyone who came in. A dark-haired woman approached me with a big smile and stuck her hand out at me. See, that's the one. That's the one. I'm Ava. Are you interested in joining up with security? I shook her hand and introduced myself, but wasn't sure what else to say. I'm not sure what I had imagined, but this wasn't it. It looks so boring. Ava frowned briefly, but shook it off. I think a lot of you surface landers are used to a very different kind of authority. This is set up for the people, to protect them, not to control them. Really? She placed a friendly hand on my shoulder. Come on, I'll show you around. No one will give you a better tour than me. Alright. Oh my god, we're blushing. Since she worked here, she'd have all kinds of valuable insight. Show me all the secrets, okay? She grinned at me. You got it. I followed Ava as she pointed things out. She seemed to have a story for everything. That's my locker, that's the camera, that's the cameras. They are unreliable as hell. These are the holding cells. She opened a door into a narrow hallway with small secure rooms. No one was inside, thankfully. The idea of being confined in such a tiny place made my stomach drop. Holding cells? Yeah, if someone acts up too much. She glanced at me and her smile faded a bit. Hey, not people like you. Ava placed a hand on my arm. You don't look like a criminal to me. That's a relief. The mayor doesn't make a habit of taking in criminal types. I know what it's like on the surface, but it's different down here, really. Now, want to see something really cool? Sure. Ava led me to a back room and opened the door into darkness. There was a snap and it lit up to reveal several weapons. Oh, shit. Right? We only ever use them when we're dealing with invaders. Doesn't happen often. You know how to shoot these? I picked up a large gun. It was heavy and cold. I had seen plenty of guns, I just never held them. They were hoarded by Sandmen, and if they learned that you had one... I handed it back to her and she held it out, striking a pose. I've begged Vince to let me take this home, but he won't let me. Too bad. That's a real shame. It would be nice to have something like this within reach. Right? Okay, come on. Ava then led me back to the main room and outlined what would be my various duties if I joined the security force. Protecting people, fighting off anyone who attacked Camden, doing rounds to watch out for stuff, lots of paperwork. Apparently, she hated paperwork, but seemed to enjoy all the other aspects of it. We went back to the boss, as Ava called him. He didn't seem bothered by my earlier absence and told me to call him Vince. He seemed content with that introduction and left me with Ava. I wasn't sure if this was the job for me. It sounded dangerous, but exciting. I moved into Camden hoping for security. Maybe the best way to make sure I was safe was to take matters into my own hands. As everything wrapped up, I grabbed an informational packet and then I headed back home. Mom was already in bed, so I crawled into my own and went to sleep easier than I ever had. Cool. We're not stressed out yet. Ah! I sat up, trying to shake the nightmare. I couldn't remember what it was about. Something with hands. Luka? Yeah? Ugh. Just a bad dream. She nodded. You want some breakfast? I waited for you. I leaned up in bed and Mom began to look at me. After a brief mom scan, she smiled. I rubbed my eyes. I wasn't hungry, but Mom probably just wanted the company. Okay, let me get up. I got up and pushed away the last wisps of the nightmare. It was as good as forgotten. Then I sat at our thin fold-up table and ate fresh fruit and porridge. I was starting to think I could live on fresh fruit and vegetables alone. I used the recipes provided, but I'm not sure if this is how everything is supposed to taste. Better than what we used to eat. I shrugged and left out the times where we had been forced to go hungry. I think I'm going to head out to the community center for coffee. She peered down, eyebrows raised slightly. I nodded. Coffee. I can't believe they have enough of a supply to be so flippant with it. Coffee every morning is really nice. It's wonderful. Maybe I cleared my throat and stood up. Then dusted myself off and made a show of heading towards the door. Coffee. Coffee first. She laughed and nodded, stood and placed the dirty dishes in the sink. The sink that had running water. It was incredible. Mom opened the door and we stepped out into the hallway. I made sure to grab the keys. We turned a corner and almost ran right into the mayor himself. Oh, excuse me. Well, fancy bumping into you here. What brings you out to this block? He cleared his throat and straightened his shirt. Oh, I like to walk around. I used to jog, but this seemed more manageable. Camilla, how are you liking your new accommodations? Everything is absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad we managed to get a spot in Camden. He smiled, and I swear I saw him blush briefly. I can't imagine how you were living before you came here. Someone walking in the hallway shouted a greeting at the mayor, and he waved in reply. It's rough up there. I miss the extra space, but our home here is much more luxurious. I don't miss the random power outages either. She visibly shuddered. We use geothermal power here. It's a lot more reliable. Everything is maintained regularly, I make sure of it. He nodded and crossed his arms. He had a look about him that said that yes, he did make sure of it. I wouldn't want to be in maintenance if there was a malfunction. I'm very grateful. I don't understand the bit about thermal genes, but yes, it sounds lovely. Even happier that I don't have to worry about it. That's the truth. I'm just happy the lights stay on. We even have cold water. He smiled and nodded. I know the rooms are small. Yeah, I don't really care about this whole thing. I cleared my throat to ruin the energy building in the air. Mom, I'm dying here. Coffee? Right. We were on our way to the community center. Don't let me keep you then. I'll see you around, Camilla and Luka. We separated, and I eyed Mom suspiciously. The mayor seemed okay, but he was the mayor. What was she thinking? He seems like such a gentleman, you know? Uh-huh. He's also the mayor, the guy in charge of everything and who owns this whole place. So, what? Does that mean he can't be a gentleman? Why are you looking at me like that? I know. Nope. I'm still the mom, so you shush right there. I can tell you're about to lecture me, and I don't want to hear it, young lady. I rolled my eyes, and she wrapped an arm around me. Don't fret over me. I'm not that old yet, or helpless. I can take care of myself. I know. I just can't help worrying anyway. Probably fair. After we got some coffee, we learned about the library. We had seen information about it before, but it hadn't occurred to us that we could borrow books for free. Mom had only brought a few of her cherished romance novels that were battered from frequent use. It would be good to read something new. The library was cluttered with books and a set of desks off to the side. Apparently, they held some kind of educational services here. A guy, probably a few years older than me, sat behind the counter looking down at a book. He hadn't bothered to glance up, but I could only imagine that he was the librarian. Ooh. Hey. So, are you the librarian? Yeah, I guess. I looked at Mom and she just shrugged. She seemed content to watch me try to interact with him. How do I get a free book? He sighed and grabbed a box and set it up on the counter. He opened it without looking away from his book, and then handed me 2 blank index cards. When I reached for the box with the other index cards, the guy sat his book down and glared at me. Write your name and home index number, then give it back to me. Whenever you take a book out of the library, I'll note it on your card, and when you return it, I'll cross it out. Sounds very clever. We did as he asked and handed the cards back to him. Without another word, he placed it back into the box and returned his attention to his book. Okay, so this is weird. It's like, how long has the world been post-apocalypse if they don't know what the fuck a library is? Before I could walk towards the shelves, the door opened behind us and someone else walked inside. Oh, who are you? I don't like you. He was taller and handsome, about the same age as the quiet and rude librarian. Hey, Trevor, you're not scaring everyone away, are you? The librarian, or Trevor, set his book down and stood up. Hello, welcome to the library. Can I help you find something to read? As he spoke, his voice was deadpan, and I didn't know how to respond. Mom simply walked away towards the reading material. I should have followed her. Don't worry about him. He doesn't bite. I'm Brian. I run the greenhouse. Oh, hi. I'm going to sit back down now. Where do you get all of that youthful energy, Trevor? Oh, why was I doing that voice? We're the same age, Brian. Brian turned his attention to Trevor, and I was left to my own devices. I walked around and took a look at everything that lined the shelves. The place was small, but overall nice. The 2 guys seemed completely in their own little world. Trevor was trying to read, and Brian was trying to get and keep Trevor's attention. I had finally started to figure out the organization system when I heard Mom coming. What do you think is up with them? Mom sidled up next to me, holding 2 new books in her hands. Both had covers that depicted a man and woman clutching each other oddly. I don't know. How many books do you think we're allowed to check out at once? Not sure, but I suppose he'll have to tell us, won't he? I nodded and looked around the room as Mom returned to the romance section. There were tons of books lined up and neatly displayed, and it would be really wonderful to have something new to read. What did I want to check out? Something easy and relaxing, probably, because we're kind of goofed up. I grabbed XOXO Tales of Jerks in Love, and I met back up with Mom, and we headed towards the counter. I waited to see if Trevor would react to Mom's pile of books, but he only took our cards and notated the books we were taking. Brian smiled in a friendly way, but didn't speak again until we started to walk away. Then, it was only to Trevor. We spent the rest of the day organizing our tiny home and reading the books we borrowed from the library. When the time came to attend one of our career open houses, we went our separate ways. I tried to pick a good field to check out, but I had no way of knowing what would be interesting to me or not, so I just headed to the medic's open house. I walked into the clinic and was hit by the chemical smell of medicine and illness. It looked like a waiting area with places for patients hidden behind curtains. There were pamphlets set up on a table, and a lot of people dressed in crisp white clothing. Ooh. A woman with big blonde hair walked over and took my arm. Actually, she looks like she could be nice. Hello there, darling. I'm Iris Mary Jackson, but please just call me Iris. Everyone else does. She led me over to where everyone was sitting. I saw the doctor approach. I almost didn't recognize Mika in his full uniform. When our eyes met, he leaned forward slightly and spoke softly. Luka, I'm so pleased that you were able to come by. He turned to the others and spoke to everyone. I am sure that you are all at least somewhat aware of what we do here in the clinic. It's important work that helps keep everyone healthy and alive. While we teach you some first aid, you can help us by keeping records and maintaining the clinic's sanitary requirements. He means writing people's names down and cleaning. Yes, Iris is correct. While doing this, I can teach you as much medical knowledge as you can stand. The more doctors and nurses we have, the safer we'll all be. How about a tour? Iris clapped her hands together as she looked at everyone. Mika rubbed the bridge of his nose. Come on now, get close. I don't want to lose my voice. I started walking towards Iris, but felt compelled to stop and talk to Mika. He might get annoyed if I didn't stick to the tour, though. I backed away from the tour group and walked up to Mika. He looked up from the clipboard and at me with curiosity. Yes? What's going on? You seem stressed out. Stressed? You just do not know me very well. This is my typical behavior. He gave me a small smile and started to turn away. Well, sure, but you're the main doctor, aren't you? If something is ever wrong with you, then who do you tell? Pardon? If you get sick or injured, I appreciate the sentiment, but there are very capable medics here. I assure you that if I fall, someone will be able to replace me. Oh, come on, I didn't mean it that way. You seem so tensed up. Your concern for me is touching, but misguided. He finally lowered the clipboard and looked me over. I am simply worried about the turnout. I was hoping to attract more newcomers. Perhaps you can enlighten me. Why doesn't anyone want to work at the clinic? I waited a moment, but he really seemed to want me to say something. It smells kinda gross in here. He didn't even crack a smile. It's hard to return to a life of blood and death when you just left it. It's not for everyone. Well, shit, is that your recruitment speech? Because if it is, I know why you're understaffed. He gave me a small smile and averted his eyes. That is why Iris is leading the tour right now, and not me. He nodded and then walked away to get back to whatever it was he was doing. I joined up with Iris as she was giving the final details of her tour. And that's that, sugar! Once Iris was finished talking, everyone started to leave. I grabbed the brochure and looked it over. A job at the clinic could be dangerous. I'd be surrounded by sick people. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be responsible for someone else's well-being, though it might come natural to me after so many years of looking after Mom. I headed home, but spared a final glance towards the nervous doctor. He appeared to be counting. Okay, so I'm going to leave this here. This seems like a big slow burn, and I don't want to just, go through, like, an hour of gameplay until we get to the part where it, starts getting bad. But hey, the description does say that things get bad. Well, that's interesting. This is quite good. This is very, very, very well written. It just feels like it takes a bit too long to get to the really good stuff. I'm gonna continue playing this on my own time. Or, hey, drop a comment if you want to see me do this, maybe on a long play, maybe on a stream, something like that. Anyway, there will be a link down in the description for you to buy this. You probably already have it through the Facial Injustice Bundle through itchio. That can be said for basically anything I'm playing. I love you all. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or night. And as always, I am no longer here.